Welcome to another episode of Moped Outlaws. Today's guest, Kneet, Kneet, is a dynamic woman of substance, an artist, an advocate, and just a wonderful human. I'm just thrilled to have met her and to have heard her story. It's not an easy story to listen to in some ways, but she makes it part of the fabric of life.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's definitely, we're in the company of someone who was in a dark hole and has found a light to follow and shine. There was a very bright, lively human that we were hanging with.
Yeah. So enjoy it. Please subscribe to the podcast, share the podcast, support Blast and Compton Cowboys. Both of those organizations deserve more than just a passing glance or the ignorance of our pleas to help them. We don't just throw that out there, right? These people are doing amazing work that is really impacting human beings. And so please take the time to at least look at what they're doing and donate if you can.
Sis, hallo?
Blijven.
Stuur zeker wegen them.
Wil je iets niet, joh?
Two outlaws on the lam, taking the back roads through America.
You can't drink enough coffee for this show.
And now it's time for Monday Madness with the Moped Outlaws, Greg and Marc.
And we're live with another ride with the Moped Outlaws. And our special guest rider today is Kneet Music.
Hello, sawadika, sasrikaji.
And Kneet, as I understand it, you're an artist, of course.
Yes.
You're a mother.
Yes.
And you are also a social advocate for children's rights.
Yes, I try to dabble into that since from personal experience. I feel like, a lot of people are going through this. So if everybody puts in a little piece of their heart, a little piece of their story, and come together, we can make a change.
Okay, so as I understand it, you're from Thailand, correct?
Correct. I am Indian by blood. I'm Punjabi Sikh, but I was born and raised in Thailand. I'm like the 5th generation maybe already, because
Wow.
they migrated. They're Punjabis. So Punjab was cut in the middle when India and Pakistan separated. So my family, instead of moving down to India, they had migrated over to Thailand. And so everybody's been there ever since.
That's wild. 5 generations.
Yeah.
I didn't know that about that area historically.
Yeah.
All right, so what I'm wondering is, were you a mother in Thailand? Was that where you became a mother?
No, it was here. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, my son was born here.
So this aspect of children's rights and narcissism is what you've been experiencing in New York, in the United States.
Correct. At first, I didn't have the vocabulary for it. I didn't know what it was called. I don't think until recently, it's really come to light, I think. But when I was going through it, obviously, when you're in domestic violence and coercive control, you don't see it. You're isolated, you're brainwashed, manipulated. But, being out of it for a while now, I see it from outside in. So, yeah, I do. And now I know that it was narcissistic abuse, and, seeing my child suffer through it, having a narcissistic parent, is probably the worst part for me. And it's probably the reason why I got up and started to. It wasn't about me anymore, because at first it was just me like going through it, dwelling. But when you start seeing your child getting hurt, that's when you're like, oh, I got to do something. You don't have time to feel bad for yourself anymore. So that's when, yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, it's nothing. So part of a generalization is we hear about the mama bear and that aspect of the feminine mom that is ferocious in protecting the child,
Yeah.
which can be an equal negative. And you've transformed that energy into the positive, creative, artistic realm. What was the fulcrum? How did you move from a negative, dark place into this place of light? What?
Yeah, that's a great question. Because it was a process. It definitely was not an overnight thing, as you can imagine. There was a time when my mom had gotten me into meditation and more spirituality with Mr. Tenzin, who I've spoken about before. And doing that, it made me accept. I think acceptance and awareness is like two main keys to a lot of things. Because the minute you first become aware and you're able to accept it, then you're able to move on and resolve what you want to resolve. So I think getting to that point for me was the turning point when I was able to, like, okay, this has happened. What do I do from here? How do I, stand up from here and protect my child? So that for me, spirituality, I think, played a big role for me in calming down and understanding and accepting. Yeah.
When you talk about identifying as a Sikh, like I've had some experience and had the opportunity to speak with people who are Sikh and get a little bit of understanding about what that's like. I would love for you to speak about the traditions of that you were given, what
hmm
those traditions mean to you now, and how that practice informs the way you're operating in your life right now.
Yeah, so definitely, my Sikh roots definitely are very deep within me because I do pray quite a lot, and that's something I realize that has never left me. Like in times of fear or when I'm down, I still look to God. I still look to. I think because of that strong foundation that I was able to survive this. I think like having those really strong roots and the strong spirituality, having something to hold on to that's above yourself, like a higher power. You can call it God, you can call it higher power, but that higher spirituality, that I think is what, helped me through as well, really.
Well, most people might not understand what it distinguishes the practice of being a Sikh. Can you
Oh.
say a little bit about what that's like?
Yeah, definitely. Sikhism came about from protecting people and practicing equality and being humble, humility. So I try to make sure that I practice that and truthfulness. Our book Guru Granth Sahib Ji really comes down to, are you being truthful with yourself and with God, right? So we have to practice being humble. We wear a kara, which is to we wear it on our most dominant hand to remind us to do the right things.
Mm.
So Sikhism does play a role in my life, especially in grounding me and keeping me humble and doing the right things. Yeah.
Got it. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
A lot of people just don't have the visibility on what it means. And what I will say about the Sikh people I've spent time with is that it was a very rich, rewarding, warm kind of an interaction. And
Yeah.
I think a lot of Sikh people suffer from a lack of understanding, especially men, because of the what they do with their head and what they wear in their hair, and they get judgment and they get misjudgment about what it
Definitely.
means.
My father wears a turban as well. And my father is somebody who's been traveling to the States for decades because we know export and import. And he has told me stories about being stopped at the airport, especially after the unfortunate event of 9/11, of them, specific, like they thinking that he's Muslim and then they pulling him aside just because of that. And he said when he came to America after that, it was the same thing. So I think a lot of Sikhs went through that, not just my dad, because I heard a lot of stories about, people getting beaten up. And I know somebody personally who lost their father to a mass shooting of somebody who went into a Sikh temple in Wisconsin. And because I guess they thought the Sikh temple was, the Muslim. So that's what, and it was very sad, what happened. But I think that the Sikh community is, being more prominent. At least here in New York, I see Turban Days, I see Sikh Day parades. So yeah, I think it's come a long way actually. Yeah.
It's beautiful. Um, I'm going to shift gears now. Thank you for that. I'm going to ask you a little bit more about what it's like as a mother when institutions that are meant to protect children fail. What happens to mothers' understanding of justice?
Oh, yeah, that's definitely heavy because for me it was just shattering. Because one of the reasons that I came to America was this mindset of like women and children's rights. Because growing up, women and children didn't have much of a voice, right? So when I started doing music, it was very much discouraged. I was only supposed to be, and it was societal. It wasn't about being Indian. It was more like societal. So it was very much discouraged. But then I decided that I want to come here because over here women and children are protected. And I showed my women and children, hey, we could do music and still be okay. And then I came here and I myself became the victim of coercive control, domestic violence. But then again, thinking I'm in America, that I will be protected, I will be safe. So I go to court, but I guess because I don't know how to play the game in court. So I'm emotional. I'm even communication, I have realized, is so different when you're from different countries. You could speak English, but our English could be different, what I'm saying and what you're saying, and the same sentence. So, excuse me, getting there to the court, when I start to express myself and show my side of the story and being rejected completely, and having the court enable the abusers. Because when you walk into court trying to prove mental abuse and psychological abuse and coercive control, it's not black and white, right? You can't see the bruises. You can't see the emotional trauma it's caused the child. But the courts don't care about that. So because of that, the child continues to get traumatized and staying with the abuser. And the safe parent has to watch from outside their child being hurt continuously. Yeah.
Is your child still with the father?
Excuse me. Yes, he
Oh,
goes back and forth, but then still, the thing is, my thing happened so crazy because not being from this country and him had isolated me from everybody. He had gone to court without me even knowing.
oh, wow.
Like literally living with me and the child. First, he threw me, if you see the music video Rise,
Yeah.
that's actually a true story of what happened to me here.
Whoa.
And I actually went back to the actual place that it happened.
Oh,
That's
wow.
the actual place, and I took my child back there with me. So he had made me get an apartment in his family's name because I didn't have social security. I didn't even know anything about that. Long story short, threw me out of my own apartment right after I gave birth. And I was sleeping in the hallway, as you see in the scene of me sitting with my son, just to wait to go back in, feed my son. And then, he would get me arrested and stuff like order protection. I did not understand any of that. Like, you got to come back and give the baby milk and diapers. At the same time, the mother calls to get me arrested. So they would create a record. Now I understand. It was all strategic. And then he was going to court while living with me, to file custody, and then got custody by default, which I didn't even know what it was. And I didn't know until not even 2, 3 years ago. But I had an attorney from the court that never told me that. And then and it's so much that happened through that too that I didn't know about. So it came about in a really crazy way that I had to find out about all these years later. The attorney never helped me, and now I don't have an attorney. I'm pro se. I brought up a lot of concerns since the child is now older. You could see the deterioration, whether it's health, hygiene, education, you know. So when I brought that up to court, they did not investigate. They did not question. They closed the case.
Hmm.
Now
Where
I'm
do-
like, sorry. Yeah.
no, so where does it stand right now today as we're talking?
I filed an appeal. I'm pro se, obviously. I don't have it, but I'm filing an appeal because this is all just so wrong. And in the meantime, I'm still gonna do whatever I can. That's why I'm still here fighting for my child. I haven't gone home in like over a decade. So yeah, it's a very long journey, but the point is to protect the child. If the child was well taken care of, I think I might have reacted differently. He's with the
Right,
father.
right,
Yeah,
of course.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
yeah.
There's a lot there to unpack.
Uh,
So, well, I'm wondering with change.org
Yes.
and this petition you have, are you also advocating for other mothers and helping them learn about this legal system that you've learned about the hard way?
Oh, yes, definitely. You don't want, like what happened to you to happen to somebody else. At least, I don't. Because if you can educate, if I was educated, if somebody had warned me, if somebody had taught me, maybe my son could have been saved earlier. Maybe I could have been like, I could have stepped in. But like, I feel a lot of guilt that I didn't know, that if I knew what I knew then, now, I mean, you know what I mean?
I do, yeah.
Yeah, if I knew that, then I could have saved him. And then, this wouldn't have snowballed into something that the court just didn't want to hear about. So there's a lot of guilt there.
So how
Mhm.
do you show up for mothers? Like how does that connection happen in the world?
This internet and this social media is some amazing thing. I mean, when I was going through it initially, I thought my story was so unique. I was like, this, maybe I was trying to justify it, finding a way to justify why they were acting this way. I was thinking, maybe this is so unique that they don't understand it. I have to explain it. But then the social media actually opened my eyes to this is going on all over. It's ridiculous the amount of people that are going through this. And I've said this before as well. It almost makes me feel guilty for even getting the time I do with my son because some people don't get that at all.
Mm,
I mean, it is so sad to see people tell stories about how they completely lose connections with their kids. And, while it's going on, by the time the child is able to tell their side of the story, 12 years old, 13, 14, that their whole childhood is gone. There's no bringing that back. And some parents are not able to connect. Yesterday itself, I just saw this clip from a Sikh guy. He's on social media. He said he lived with his uncle till 12. And after 12, he went to live with his father, but he was never able to have that bond with his dad.
Mm.
Just trying to make a long story short, it's just that childhood, that bonding time, that the
yeah.
time when all their, in psychology they say all the dots are created to connect while you grow up.
Right.
It's gone. That's the hardest part to swallow, the milestones you can never get back. He made me miss my son's graduation. The court, he told the court that, and they didn't care. I begged them to go to my son's kindergarten, and they said no. Kindergarten graduation.
Wow.
That heartless. But that heartlessness also turns you cold to a point because I have become somebody else totally now.
Mm.
Yeah.
You've lived this personally, but you've also studied it academically. What things that you've learned from your own personal experience that weren't in the textbooks are important and relevant to this struggle?
You know, Studying it and going through it at the same time is really, I can't even, it's really hard because you're seeing it unfold in real time in your child and you're just struggling to find the answers. You're trying to see how to fix it. Like, oh my God, maybe he's going through this, so I could find a way to fix it, you know? But it never really, nothing really prepares you for the outcome because when you see the change in your child and there's nothing you can do about it, like you literally see the light dimming from the child and you see them changing slowly, deteriorating, and it's just to study that at the same time. I know what's happening to my son, but now I know he's past 7 years old also. So now I know certain things are not reversible. Now we can have to only find a way to do therapy to heal it. That's the saddest part, to be honest with you. Yeah.
It's
That's
hard to have these kinds of conversations, but it's so important because we need to raise the level of awareness. But my imagination tells me that on one level, you feel like you've got to be more in a world where women already have a lot to fear from men. You've got now yet even another reason to be like withdrawn or hold back or cautious with people. How do you maintain an open to the possibilities of having the kinds of love and relationships that you want to have in the face of all this?
you know that happened to me recently too. It affects everything. It really does. Because first of all, I didn't even think about that for years, right? So life goes on, you get older, like it doesn't stop, time doesn't stop. And then when you want to come back into it again, you're very traumatized. And you kind of carry that whether you like it or not. And recently that happened to me, with somebody that, I'm very good friends with. And we were trying to maybe, pursue something. But then the trauma comes out, to make the long story short. But yeah, it affects everything. So I think that I need time to heal still. But the problem is that I can't heal while I'm still dealing with the abuser. So here's the tricky part again, right? The court doesn't care about that either.
Mm.
They expect you to deal with the co-parent who is your abuser for years, that tried to destroy your life. And just thinking about them make you shake, right, inside,
Yeah.
when you're traumatized like that. Hearing their voice again, seeing them in court, nobody cares. And if you don't and you act a certain way, you become the parent that doesn't cooperate. So
Right.
then you're here protecting your child, so you're not removing yourself to heal. So I don't think I've healed completely, and I saw that when I tried to move on, that, and I can't heal yet until my son is safe.
So does that mean you just can't engage in the possibility of being in relationship at all?
Oh no, I could try, right? But once I see that, if it's coming out the wrong way and it's like burdening the other person, I would not want them to feel like they're in there because they have to be. Because I also want to be loved. I don't want to be in a relationship where somebody feels like they have to be there, right? So I want to also be in an equal relationship where I feel adored and loved, and I can maybe have a family once again.
We recently had a guest, and he said something last weekend that I thought was really profound. He
Yeah.
said, healing is when we allow the worst of ourselves to be loved.
Yes, absolutely. That is so true. You know, as a part of this, when I was coming out of this, there was a friend of mine that is now my friend, but back then had just met and had helped take care of me when I had nobody, and is still a very close friend of mine till today. And that's when I was at my worst, and I really like didn't care. And that friend still showed me love, and I think that helped me heal a lot. I think without that, because at that time I had no contact with my family either. My family cut me off too for a very long time.
Wow,
Yes.
that's crazy. Why did that happen?
Well, first for leaving, it's like running away from home almost, because I'm not allowed to leave, as an Indian girl, Punjabi girl, and leaving the country. Oh my God, forget about it. It was a shock. I had to plan it out. Then doing music, that's like a no. And I love to dance. Before I even like started singing, I wanted to be a dancer, but that was shut down really fast because it's considered vulgar and stuff like that. So then on top of that, I was very open-minded, and I spoke my mind, which was like, you can't do that, and I fought back. I argued, I rebelled, yeah, all of that. So then after that, the father of my child also is not Indian, and then yeah, then that was the icing on the cake. But then when they started to see the abuse, they also warned me, but I was already brainwashed at that time.
Now, am I mistaken? Isn't Bollywood from the Punjabi culture?
Bollywood
Or-
is from India on the whole. But we are like a small sector of Punjabis in Thailand. So like I was saying before, it's more like a society thing, not an Indian.
Okay,
Because
because
India is full of culture. Sikhism is full of hymns and everything. So it wasn't about our religion or our culture. It was more society.
it was the neighborhood you were in
Yeah, like the shame
specifically.
of the family name in the society. And
Okay.
if you're from a certain, elite society, then you're even more like, you gotta watch. Everybody knows your parents, and yeah, it was difficult.
So are it sounds like you and your family are communicating again.
Yes, yes. My son was actually, the angel in our life. When my son was born, that's when my parents came back around.
And
Yeah.
are they maybe not celebrating, are they open though to your artistry, your music, and the things who you are today?
This time around, it's actually different. When I did Rise last year, because I think the fact that I wrote about my story, I think that went in softly with my dad, and my mom is different also. So my dad, it went in softly with him because it was like, Dad, I'm just, because I guess he feels also horribly as a father for what his daughter's going through. So I'm saying, Dad, I wrote about, and he already knows I love music. So I think he took it better and then when he saw the video, he said he wasn't even able to listen to the song and the video because it was so heavy for him. He said it just made him so sad. But I think that's how slow. And then when the song actually did so well, it was in Times Square Billboard, #1 on Apple Music videos. Then I think my dad was like, okay, so she's going somewhere with this. I guess it helped. Now my mom, I think she's always rooting for it, but being like more like the old school Indian woman, she doesn't, like they don't express themselves. That's why when I did music back home, the group that I had created with a few people is called Freedom of Expression. That was the main goal, is that we can express ourselves through music, art, fashion, and whatever.
Yeah. I just am recalling, I forget her name. There's a rap artist I like, and she has this song about being Indian and how here in the United States she's put down because she's Indian, and from her own people, she's not Indian enough.
Okay, because she's American born?
No, she's from India.
Oh,
I think she's from, and here, like you, came to the United States.
okay.
But I believe what she's communicating in this one song is how, because of this rap music that she's doing,
Mm-hmm.
it's her Indian culture family is putting her down. That isn't Indian. You can't do
Okay.
that.
Yeah,
And
I know what she's saying.
right. And in America, she's being put down because she's a person of color. She's
Oh, okay. Because I see like the Indian people here are, of course, very different from us back home in Asia, because obviously over here you have more resources and more access to stuff. Like, for example, I'll be more specific. Like us growing up, like women and children didn't have rights like that, right? You can't, there's no advocacy, there's no women and children rights groups and stuff like that. Even if there was one, maybe it wasn't really enforced, if I should say that. But over here, they do go to school with their American friends. They do have access to teachers that will see if there's abuse and say something. Maybe back home they do see, but they don't.
right.
You call the cops to the house and say your parents are beating you, and they'll laugh at you or
Wow.
something.
So has your son's educational system, like teachers in his life, have they been advocates for you and allies for you?
I'm so glad you asked that because it's actually very important. The first couple of years of his school, I was completely shut out because the father went in with his narrative, right, to the school, and I still was navigating the system and how much am I allowed and this and that, and I had to fight to get access to his educational records and everything. He would try to keep me off completely. Then he had told the teachers a lot of, I guess, negative things about me because they go on a smear campaign, basically, right? So, excuse me, I could feel it when I went to the school, how the teachers would look at me and everybody would look at me bad. So it took a while, maybe when he was in first grade, that the school counselor pulled me aside one day and she said, I need to ask you something. She said, I don't think this is true, but the father told me that you haven't been in the child's life at all for the last 4 years and you just came back into his life. And she said, I don't believe that because the child talks about you constantly and, stuff and stuff. And I'm like, yeah, it's not true, And then she said that, okay, well, I would like to sit down and talk to you and stuff. So that's when the communication a little bit started. Then I started to, speak to the social worker in school. Then I spoke to his class teachers, so it slowly started. And now I have a good connection and good relationship with a couple of them that are very supportive, that even watch my podcast, watch the video, and are supportive of me, and but they can only do so much, until the child speaks. Here's another tricky part: trauma bond, right? The
Yeah.
child has been with the father since birth, and it's not just the father, it's the grandmother and the aunt as well that abuses him in that home. So they learn to be bonded with the abuser, to not speak out about the trauma, about the abuse. So it's very hard for the social worker and stuff to do anything, because when they ask him, he never says a word. He'll come and tell me, I'll tell them, and when they ask him, he doesn't say anything. The court says, well, nothing happened. And that's been carrying on for years. But now, since I have a closer relationship with them, I asked my son to be enrolled in counseling in school, because he started showing signs of aggression, because the father has anger management problem, anger issues. So I'm trying, my best. I don't know how much they can help, but I'm trying to find out. Yeah.
How have you been able to build on the success of Rise? What's coming?
Rise gave me this platform to speak about this, and for me to start advocating and bring a more of awareness to this issue of mental abuse and coercive control, for the courts to recognize this as something that's harming our children. And hopefully I can use my music as a platform again for the advocacy for this. This is really where I want to go with it, because it's like when Rise hit, I didn't feel like, oh, I made it as a singer. I look like, wow, now I have a platform, a voice to speak for, all these women that are going through it, and they're quietly suffering. Maybe because they don't have the money for the attorney. Maybe they don't have the right resources. Or like me, I didn't know anything about the law here in this country. So yeah, this music thing has really helped me to to have this platform. Basically, like you guys, thank you for allowing me to speak about this.
Well, we're very happy to have you. Maybe happy is the wrong word. We have a great deal of respect and want to honor the possibility that your communication would help others. That's
Yes.
it's not something to be happy about, really, unfortunately. But my question was really about there's this powerful commitment you made to your art that moved you across continents, past the resistance of cultural domination, into this realm where you built something for yourself and you made this artistic expression. And I'm wondering, is there more music that you're cultivating and getting ready to bring about?
Yes, definitely. This is only the beginning. So I did release my second and my third single already. My second single, My Man, and my third one, To the Moon. So working on some more videos, and then after I release a couple more singles, then we look into doing some shows and finishing the album, hopefully before the end of this year. So that's definitely the plan. And I love performing, and definitely collaborating, because art is just so big. You just work with different artists, create different music, different cultures, different languages in the same song. I look forward to that quite a bit, actually.
Are you able in the moment to transcend and forget a bit about the context of your life and the suffering of your child and this history when you create?
Yeah, sometimes, because sometimes I create like the happier side of music, like To the Moon is like a blissful love story. So that used to be a lullaby for my son. And that's how it started. And it's a little escape. So there are times when I do my music and I get to escape away from just being, dwelling on the sadness all the time. Like I have a new song also, which is very, very powerful, but I'm not sure if I want to record it yet, because right now I want to be in that slow healing mode. Because to record that song, I would have to go back into that really heavy. I don't know if I want to do that yet. So yeah, maybe we'll do another song first. Yeah.
I know that for myself as a singer-songwriter, that a lot of my early motivation was about the pain that I was suffering and a way to deal with the pain and suffering. Is there a place where music is rising from joy for you yet?
Yes, like that lullaby for my son, that's our little escape, so that's definitely a joyful song for me. And my second single, My Man, was also like a little playful, flirty side of me. So, like I said, I'm trying to balance it out because Rise was pretty heavy already. So, I'm trying to come out with different sides of me, like, yes, I've been through trauma, but I'm rising above it. So, I'm not going to be dwelling in it, right? I'm going to be showing different sides of who Kneet is. Yes.
All right, so I wondered, like, I listened to My Man, and that's a really it's a celebration of that romantic relationship. And you just shared how personally you found that you're not really able to be in that relationship right now. There's more healing you'd like to do. So how have you found that creative way to express something, and then there's like sort of a disconnect from your personal?
Why? Because I was trying. Remember, I said I was just
Right,
going
right,
through
right.
it because I was trying. At that time, I was still in that, oh, you're my man, type of stuff. So, yeah, it was in that time. It was February when I released that. We already in June.
That so
That
time keeps on going, like you
should back
said
to
earlier.
lullabies now. Yeah,
Wow. Yeah. Oh man.
straightforward answer right there.
I'm curious. This is a little bit of a subject change,
Okay.
but I feel like America is under the influence of a narcissistic abuser. I'm wondering if you could point out some of the keystone traits that maybe is true about them, if you're willing. I don't want you to necessarily have to comment on politics if you don't want to, but it feels to me like there's some real reality to that. And so what are like 3 to 5 things that are part of what a narcissistic abuse controlling personality does, and how can you equate those or link those to our current situation?
Wow. So, like, yeah, like you said, like politics is definitely something I don't really talk about because I'm not too much, like, especially when it comes to America, because I'm not from here. So I don't believe that I am somebody who has the rights to even say something about, you know, you guys' country. You know what I mean? I'm respectful of, whatever. But yeah, but definitely the traits of a narcissist, one thing for sure is they lack empathy, right? So you want to look at somebody who does something and they cannot feel it. It's not like they feel it and they choose not to. They just don't have it in them, you know. And definitely the smear campaign is always there because they got to be either the victim or the hero, you know. And then every another thing is the delusion. They live in this reality they have created. Everybody else is just a puppet in their story. And in that story, they are either the victim or the hero, you know? And if something goes wrong, it's never their fault. There's always somebody to blame for it. So these are definitely a few traits, but I cannot comment on anything to do with politics. Yeah, I will respectfully
Well,
be
this is your
Decline.
country
Yeah.
too now.
respectfully decline. And because you have to understand, I did come to this country because I believed in the freedom. I did believe in the women, which does exist, but there's just some glitch when it comes to the court system,
Well,
you know.
I I do hear many Americans talk about how through traveling the world, they find out that the democracy and process here in the United States really is ahead of most of the world as far as equal rights. And it is not perfect. There is still a lot for us to learn, heal, and improve upon.
Yeah. Well, when you say that, the first thing that comes to my mind is resources. Like in America, you guys have a lot of resources that we don't have. Like for example, there's a lot of advocacy places. There's a lot of women and children shelters, or people that will educate them, and a lot of programs. Like, I don't even know most of them yet, but there's so much that we didn't have. Like, when I was pregnant here, I didn't have access to anything, but I did enroll myself in every single program that I could find. So I don't think that happens in Asia or something like that. So yeah, even though, like, this America has its own little issues, America is also very advanced about, like, their resources and their advocacy. So if we have that, we should use that to bring awareness to the court. Why is the court behind? You know what I mean? Like, why isn't the court catching up with the rest of us?
Do you think that might be due to the fact that there's just so much that the court is trying to deal with? Do you think that, like, some people would want to be better at the way they adjudicate these things, or do you think it's really part of something else, some bigger problem?
Yeah, but here's the thing: it's priority, right? So the courts always say they prioritize children. So if you prioritize children, then shouldn't the children be on top of the list of what is best to improve for the children?
Well, oh my God, there's just so much flooding through my head right now. So one, what I've learned is primarily in the medical industry, but I believe it also is with our legal system, is one has to be their own advocate. So we have doctors, we have lawyers, judges, etc. But as you've well learned, you need to hold your rights primarily, and all these other people are helping you.
Yeah.
Also, in my experience with the educational system and just society generally, the adult world does not give credence to a young person's thoughts, feelings, and knowledge. So quite often I find in the educational system, and probably in the legal system as well, the adults involved think they know what's best, and they make choices without any real input or energy from the children involved.
Yeah, absolutely. You could see that in the judges. I've had now, I think, 3 judges over the course of 9 years, and every single one has been biased. I mean, they did not care. And it was like really in your face bias, where me and him could walk into a court, right? For example, if I'm telling something and he says something, they would just believe him with no other questions asked, no investigation, while I'm sitting there with the evidence like, hello, that is not what happened. So you can see it in the judges, where they think, without even really investigating, they would think that they do know best. But do they? Do they have to sit and watch their child suffer? Do they have to nurse their child back to health when they're sick? Do they have to watch their child come back to you looking like a mess? Do they have to watch your child not go to the doctor for, it's just, they don't know, and they need to, like, come off that high horse. That's what I think. With all due respect to the judges, no disrespect at all, but you guys have to be able to think more about how day-to-day life is for us, instead of just, and the hearing happens in 5 minutes. You're there, it's like the lawyers are shouting, and whoever, it's like a chess game, right? And whoever plays the better game. So it's not really about the story, it's about who makes the better move. That's ridiculous. So who has the better lawyer? So it's not really about the best interest of the child, and that's the most heartbreaking part to me.
Yeah. And I think one of the primary resources the United States has for everybody is education.
Yes.
And I do believe education is an empowerment when you go into these systems of legal system or a medical health system.
Definitely, because, like, even my mom said this, like, it's a good thing that, you study this and that, you're able to go into this law stuff and figure things out on your own. I file my own motions. I've done so many I've done, I think, more paperwork than when I had a lawyer.
All right, so I'm wondering, we hear these horror stories of the entertainment industry and contracts that an artist gets involved with, that years down the road, they find out, oh shit, I just signed my rights away.
Right.
What have you learned from your experience in the legal system with your child that has served and informed you in the entertainment world?
In the entertainment world, I haven't really dealt with anything on the legal side like that because mostly my producer is the one that handles that, right? So yeah, I don't really know much about the legal side of the music yet, other than obviously, my songs and where I put them and register them and ASCAP.
So
But
you're
yeah.
trusting your producer to be an
Oh no,
honest.
I know my producer for a very long time.
Okay.
Shout out to Joe Philly.
All right. All right.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, Jocelyn.
Yeah. Joe Philly, Joe Philly.
Joe Philly. Okay, Joe Philly. Hold Neat like family.
Yes,
All
yes,
right.
definitely.
Beautiful.
Can you talk a little bit about the level of collaboration that you have with him? Tell us a little bit about your process.
Oh yeah, definitely. So Joe and me, we talk through a lot of since we know each other very well. So writing music, we usually write our songs together. It always starts with a conversation, like how Rise came about. It was just literally me venting to Joe one night, and I was like, I can't believe this is happening. He's like, you know what? Just put it into lyrics like the way you used to, So we decided, okay, let's do that then, and I just did my little rant and stuff like that, and then Joe just kind of fill in the blanks, and the song came about. And when I went to record Rise, I didn't even go to record Rise. I actually went to record My Man. It was supposed to be my first single, and I just did like a rush one draft of Rise, and it just became the song because I guess I was really feeling it, like I was like the way it came out, it just yeah, because we had just written it, it was fresh, and I'm going through it. So I think that's why, and it just took a life of its own because then Josh came in the picture from Icon Media, and he did a phenomenal job with the music video, and I was able to take it back to where it happened, and so Rise became the first single. It took a life of its own. Yeah.
And how did the economics of that play out? You were number one video on Apple. What does that translate to in terms of you being able to support yourself? You don't have to tell us facts and figures, but the story that I hear a lot in our industry is that this high level of success in digital and streaming doesn't actually translate to anything utilitarian or useful for you.
Yeah, well, I guess nowadays it's just royalties and then a lot of shows and merchandise, you know. So I think that's where it is right now, not really the streams or anything like that, unless you really have content on social media, where you're generating money from there. So
So can you speak a little bit about your level of success? Are you above the poverty line with how that material performed, or is it still just not really making a difference in how you survive and how you take care of yourself?
I don't think much has really changed like that. Although I wish I had had a different answer. But yeah, but then Joe did tell me when we started off again, he's like, because he's been in the industry for over 25 years or something. So he's told me it's not an overnight thing. These things take time. He said you might not even see anything until a year, 2 years down the line. So yeah, I was prepared for it. And then to be honest, this is not really for the money and stuff. Of course, that is good, but I really want doing it for the love and the advocacy behind it. If I could do it as a career, like if there's income coming from it, that's a bonus for me. Like I would love that, that I'm able to, do this as my job, but until we get there, like I still feel like it's a nice healing place for me. And if it's meant to be, it will be.
Got it.
Yeah.
You mentioned that touring and merchandise is a primary revenue stream now for music artists. Is your advocacy with your son keeping you from touring?
You know, I can't actually, it's more than just that. It's like I can't go anywhere because of what's going on with my child. Like at
Wow.
all. Like I wanted to go shoot a video in California. I couldn't do that either. Because when if I was dealing with a regular co-parent, I think it would have been different. See? So since I'm dealing with somebody different of different caliber, they will twist that. They will use that against me. So I literally got to be here on my tippy toes, especially when I'm trying to, get my son back. So
Right.
because of that, it does put a lot of restraint on me, yes. But I'm hoping that within the next following months, that I can start traveling.
All right. Well, let's hope that happens. But I think that's something that, like, I know I don't see that. I may see you from a distance and think, oh, she's free from that enslavement environment. But now I learn no.
No,
And
you're
actually,
not, because of the court. The
right.
court wants you to still deal. They don't even, nobody even asks about your trauma or what you've been through, if you're okay. But then, and if you show emotions, then that, oh, you're too emotional.
Right. Or even consider, here's Neat, who's attempting to launch a music career, which could require traveling to California for a video. Let's take that into account as we're judging everything. No, that doesn't even come up.
It's very difficult. For example, my graduation was in Virginia, my master's degree graduation, and my mom flew in from Thailand. My dad wasn't able to come. And we wrote a motion to the court asking for like a couple weeks so we could travel with my son to go see family in the West Coast, Disney World, all that good stuff. But the father refused for my son to even go to the graduation at all. So now the judge is caught in between two extremes, right? So I guess it was reasonable to let my son go because of the graduation, but they only let him go for like 2 days. So my son didn't really get to spend time with his maternal grandmother, who they just met for the first time, and he's 9 years old, you know. So when, like I said, when you're dealing with somebody like this, even the courts got to, because he got custody and he refuses it. Even if the court had wanted to give me 2 weeks and the guy had said like, oh, it's okay, it would have been easier, But since the guy completely refused, it's like the court can only give me but so much.
A couple of times when I was asking you about things in our country, you said your guys' country, right? And the implication is, and you've said home a couple of times, and the implication to that is that you still think of Thailand as your home and that you hope to return there one day. Is that the case? Is that what's really going on for you? Or do you feel one day maybe America will be your home as well?
You're gonna make me cry. I love how observant you are. Love it. Yeah, you're right, 100%. I do dream of going home, not just think, because my whole family is there. My son has family there that he doesn't have here at all. And I grew up in a joint family. And Indians, we're known for having big families already. So my son is missing out on all of that. He's constantly asking me for a sibling. I grew up with so many brothers and sisters, and I wish that he could meet them. I wish he had the same upbringing that I had. I didn't have to ask for anything. I was so lucky. God blessed me, and our family. And I wish my son could have enjoyed a piece of what I had at least. And then, him not having it is really not it. But anyway, yeah, going back to my country, I do still consider Thailand my home forever and always. Although I thank America for having me.
Well, that's the beauty of it, right? Is that America gets to have this incredible richness of experience as a result of the people that come and participate. And you have clearly done things creatively and with your advocacy, and you've made the most of your education to contribute, even though it's not necessarily going to be your home. Maybe one day it will, but for now, the big win would be for you to be able to take your son and show him another part of the world. What it is, aside from your family and the context you just described, what is it about Thailand that really speaks to your heart?
I think coming from Thailand to New York is coming from two polar opposites. Because Thailand is literally maybe the most passive, the most, like gentle, loving, smiley place in the world. And then you come to New York where it's like super aggressive and stuff. It took me a while, to get the hang of it. But yeah, it was polar opposites for me. And what I do miss is the gentleness of my Thai people. Over here, you're gentle is taken for weakness. Like, oh, you don't know your rights, you're not speaking up. And I still don't do it comfortably, like the type of stuff. I'm still, but I guess sometimes I have to learn to be tough, like, because being over here, you got to go with the culture where you're at, right? So yeah, but I do, one day I do hope that I could be an advocate here in America. So because there's so many Indian women here too, and other women here that need help as well. So yeah, like you said, maybe one day America will become my home if I'm so lucky. So yeah.
What do you think is true about the context of Taiwanese culture as it relates to men and women, and men as the role of the fighter, the protector, the one who goes and advocates and fights? I have an assumption I'm making in this question that part of what informs your answer is that the tradition of Indian culture, and then also your context in the what you call the mellowness of Taiwan or Thailand. Do you think that there's a reality there that you there's part of you that wishes men would stand up and fight more for you?
You know, I think men here, like, see, coming from Thailand and it's seeing Indian women, I mean, Indian men that dominate over women, but coming over here, I think is almost like the other way around, to the point where, I hope I don't say this the wrong way, but I feel like sometimes even women take advantage of their rights. Am I saying it correctly? And
So
I
they
don't.
take advantage of weak men, is what you're
Well,
right?
yeah, well, almost, like, okay, women and children have rights here, but don't take advantage of that. Like, don't bully the men now. You know what I mean? Just because, like, we have rights here. How about, the women and children across the globe that don't have rights? You guys have rights, respect it. Men get abused too. Women are not the only one, children are not the only one, men get abused too. And I've seen a lot of that here in this country, surprising. But yeah, you know, I've seen women dominate over men but bully them. And I don't like that. And then them using their rights in court to distance the fathers too. I see that too. So it goes both ways. So I think my advocacy need to rephrase to parents, not mother
Mhm.
and children. I think I would like to rephrase it to parents, you know? Yeah, because it applies to both.
How has your master's degree created more economic opportunities for you? In what ways are you able to work that you hadn't been able to before? And what profession are you pursuing?
My dad has been pushing me a lot on this, like, find a job that's, to do with this. But it's very difficult for me to find a regular job because of my schedule with my son. That's another restriction I have. I can't really work a regular job because of the schedule the court has given me. So I can't even do a 9 to 5, 5 days a week job. But I'm looking to volunteer and maybe intern, like with like the women and children's place or like any advocacy place, so that way I can like get my feet wet and learn from the people that have been in the industry for a while before I even do anything on my own. And I'm very passionate about animals. I also have a certificate in vet assistant, so I always wanted to put these two together. I believe animals are so healing. So I believe that what I want to do in the future maybe is like, have animals, connect them with children or families. I want to go down that line somehow. Yeah.
We have things in, especially in California, where it's the emotional healing animal or the emotional companion, right? And I've seen that for horses, and it occurs to me that maybe there's an Indian version that's the emotional healing tiger.
Oh wow, right? Couldn't we do that? I
In
would
Russia.
not say no. See me, I wouldn't say no. How about elephants?
Oh,
Ooh,
elephants! Yes,
I miss my elephants back home. How healing are they? You
they
know?
are
wow,
so
yeah.
incredible.
Yes. Have you guys ever been to Thailand, may I ask?
No,
Oh,
Uh-huh.
you
I want to go.
it's a must. That you will understand exactly what I mean. Like you will feel the energy difference.
Yeah.
I really believe in energy and vibrations. So I think that, when you go there, you feel the people, the mellowness. And there's this word that in Thailand we say a lot is "mai pen lai." is it's okay. Everything is it's okay. Yeah.
It's kind of like that in California in some places.
California is better than New York for me personally. Please don't get mad, people. But because I did live in LA for 2 years, so I thoroughly enjoyed. Not only the weather is like Thailand, we're tropical, so I like the weather there, and I think the people there are fun, and I think in New York is more rigid.
Yeah.
Am I gonna get it here?
Better pizza.
Yeah. Okay.
Well,
If you say so.
you know, this image keeps coming up as we talk with you, Kneet, of a puzzle, and that our desire is to have a complete puzzle with all the pieces in place. And it doesn't seem life's really that way. Like you talk about Thailand, that it's your home and it's where your heart is.
Yeah.
And these things that you enjoyed as a child growing up,
Yeah.
you also communicated that it was unavailable to be the artist and musician and dancer that you desired to be.
Yeah.
And here in the United States, you have the support to be that artist and creative, but the
Yes.
elements of family that you experienced as a child aren't here.
Yeah, absolutely. It's almost like a sacrifice, you know. So, I wish that it could go hand in hand the way I want to, but sometimes, like, see, it goes back to acceptance, right? Awareness, right? Now I'm aware that these two cannot coexist in this moment at the same time, maybe in the future, Now that I'm aware, I have to accept it. Now that I accept that this is the fact, now what do? I choose now. Now it's time to make choices, right? I choose to continue to fight for my son, pursue my music, and then when I'm able to 100% protect my son, then I can, go home, bring him home back to the family, and then, come back here and continue my music as well.
And perhaps bring that energy that you've learned here to your home
Exactly.
and express it there in a way that really works with all the people and kind of helps everybody rise.
Yeah, exactly. When I go back home, I have all this music that I created here with all these stories. And then I go home and then I'll have new music that I create for my healing over there. And I'll come back here with a fresh mind.
Right.
That's why I said the journey is just begun again for me. It was like, because this is what narcissists do. They literally wipe you off the face of the planet. Like they take your identity, right? So you really don't exist. Like I felt like I really wasn't here. Like I feel like there've been years of my life that I can't account for, and I'm still discovering myself. In the last year or two, I'm like, oh wow, I like this. Oh wow, like literally almost like I am a kid that just discovering myself all over again, It's a nice thing actually. Like, oh, I like this. I like laughing like this. So I like talking to this person about this topic, Yeah.
That's so beautiful.
Yeah.
What's your vision for yourself? Like you kind of just said it, but like what brings you hope, and what image, what movie in your mind keeps you going, and what does your future look like?
First of all is to save my son. After that, I wish that I can use my voice to help other people to do the same, that they can protect their children and hand in hand continue to do my music. And like I said, I love performing. So I can't wait to like perform, collaborate. And yeah, that's where I see myself going, continuing with the advocacy, continue with the music, take it back home, and then work with the therapy, dogs and children. And I really passionately want to work with Indian families back home because now the new generation, I understand. I'm like the in between, that I understand the Indian parents side of the thing, and I also understand the new generation kids side. So if I could be the glue, so the families don't have to break the way my family broke, because of the strictness and because of the misunderstanding. And now mental health is being more because of social media. I guess the world has become smaller, so Thailand is being exposed to more Western thinking, the mental awareness and all that, which is great. So, like if I could be that glue to slowly explain to the parents, and the parents explain to the kids that, running away from home is not the answer. Like also, I trust me, I believe that I didn't have to if they understood. There's always two sides to that story, see? But if you could bring that together, then the tie doesn't have to break at all. Families don't have to break if there's communication, you know.
Well, it's been really amazing to hear your story, and I have this feeling of curiosity about where it's going to lead. It's like I got to see the first episode of an incredibly interesting, TV series or something along those lines. So, if people are interested in getting to know more about you or be able to assist you or want to connect, what's the best way for them to do that?
They can find me on my social media, which is Kneet Music, KNEET Music, or my website, Kneet Music. The YouTube is also Kneet Music. So those are the ways that people can see what's going on with me, the updates and everything like that, and get in contact as well. And all the musical platforms is under Kneet.
Got it. So we will definitely include all of that in the show notes so that if you're listening or watching on YouTube, you can just click the link and go explore this incredible, wonderful world of you're like a lotus. Like you've pulled from the muck of this human experience and created this beautiful flowering energy. And it's a pleasure to witness it and to give a platform to voice it. Before we wrap up, we have one more question. We asked this question of all our guests. Okay. It means a lot to Greg and I. It might seem somewhat, frivolous in the way it's asked, but it's not. Trust you. We really, really appreciate your answer. And it's my history to let Greg ask the question.
Okay.
Kneet Music. You ready?
Yeah.
Eminem or Foo Fighters?
Eminem.
That was so quick. Wow.
You know why? Because I have had this question about who inspires you. Eminem plays a big role in my music because when he came out, that's when I was like, oh my God, this guy is speaking my mind. And I wasn't allowed to say it. So I would liquid paper his lyrics on my JanSport, which was navy blue, and write my own ranting on the other side. So Eminem any day. He taught me what it was like to be able to speak your mind, into lyrics.
Have you been able to see him live?
No, I wish one day, I really do wish one day. No, I don't want to just see him live. I want to work with him.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I don't want to see him live.
May it be so or something greater.
Yeah, put his artistry of how he expressed his childhood growing up and then my musical singing together. I think it'll be a great collaboration.
Maybe he's your man.
Yeah, right? Maybe I should sing that to him when I see him. I'll do the Indian thing too.
Ooh, yeah. Irresistible.
Right, I try.
Oh, so much love, so much gratitude, and powerful intentions and wishes for healing for you and your son and your family. And ultimately, even hopefully for the man who's created all of this problems. We don't wish him any harm. We wish he would wake up to his divinity as well.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining us, Kneet.
Thank you for having me so much. I had so much fun talking to you guys.
Recording stopped.